This Friday afternoon. Thank you all for this. We're very much looking forward to having this conversation with you with some great companies this afternoon, and of course do a bit of fintech talk about everything that's going on into the market. My name is Ginsel. I'm the founder and currently the CEO of Holland FinTech, and I'm very much looking forward to entertain you a bit this afternoon and hopefully spark the discussion about what's going on in fintech, what you need to know, and how to connect to everyone that's relevant and working on some nice projects today. So we're going to hear also from some great companies. Mesh ID, Nash Exchange, and Blackthorne Finance will present what they're working on today. So I'm very much looking forward to sharing that with you, and hopefully you're curious enough and brainy enough today to actually dive in deep into their stories and ask them some tough questions, not to scrutinize them, but of course to learn and make sure that we fully understand what they're up to. It's very happy that you're here. So I think we better get started. What we're about to do actually is briefly go through a bit of what happened in the past month. Here we go. I hope that's all well visible. So what we try to do every month is, let's say on a weekly basis, we track everything that's going on in the news. And hopefully you'll find the newsletters that we write both Wednesday when we talk about everything that's going on in our network, as well on Friday when we write about everything that's going on globally in fintech. We hope you find these updates very useful. So we're very much looking forward to get any feedback, of course. And hopefully you'll pick up some of the knowledge. And we're going to test that later on in the setup when we do actually a Kahoot pub quiz, and we're going to see if we can gamify the knowledge of fintech a bit and enjoy a bit of fun while doing the Kahoot quiz. But first of all, let me take you through the news of September. So what we saw was actually quite some interesting developments, especially in the crypto space. For everyone who's watching that, of course, you can see that currently the crypto prices are moving up again. So it's quite interesting to follow and see that cryptocurrencies are becoming quite popular again, and prices are recovering very, very quickly after a decline of a couple of months. At the same time, we see that also from a business perspective, there are new developments as well as some regulatory interventions, I would say. So first of all, we see that Singapore has been scrutinizing the role of Binance. So they're on the alert list. So actually they have to be really careful now, and they can't do business at the moment in Singapore. So which is quite a challenge. I think their Binance, at least themselves, are giving up very high on their regulatory compliance. So they're really hoping to get up and running back again. And since they're the largest crypto platform globally, I think that's quite an important step to take for them. At the same time, we see, of course, as you'll see later on here in the line, that, for example, China was also coming down on cryptocurrency platforms, forbidding cryptocurrencies to be traded in the country. So that's actually quite a big hit. It was, and that was also one of the big drivers behind the decline in the value of cryptocurrencies, because a lot of the miners were based in China because of cheap energy. You see now that there's a redistribution of that going around in the market, and I think there's a new revaluation of developments, and I think that has a lot to do with crypto being picked up by mainstream companies. Think about, for example, Finastra actually adding also crypto to their portfolio. Think about the Swiss market watchdog approving a crypto assets fund to be tradable. And so you see actually that both on the regulatory side, sometimes they're coming down on crypto, but some of them are actually becoming more easy and accepting it. And of course, we know that El Salvador is already accepting, or at least making it for merchants mandatory to accept crypto when customers want to use it as payment. And so there's all kinds of experiments going on that still are a big push, I think, for crypto world. Doesn't necessarily say exactly what it will look like in 10 years from now, because I think the developments are still highly speculative, and it's all very early days still. So just some of the other news. We saw Paymate, an Indian B2B payments company, moving into the United Arab market, the Emirates, which I think is quite an interesting step for them outside of India. And they did that. They were able to do that because they had a very significant partnership with Citi and Visa. Process, which is quite a well-known fintech investment group that, for example, is owner of PayU, pretty large payment fintech company, and they acquired BuildDesk, which is quite an interesting acquisition and quite a large sum that they paid for that. Nonetheless, by the way, the Process shares are not doing that well so far, so I think investors are still a bit in doubt how to value this transaction. At the same time, we see that also buy now, pay later is still a very important topic in the market, where we even see PayPal now moving into this game, trying to move into a more competitive play with Klarna, for example. An interesting one as well to look at is that in the US, the platform banks, that is a banking platform, basically acquired a big stake in a real bank. It's actually a bank since 1946, if I'm not mistaken. And the bank completely did a turnaround to move into a fintech play using the platform of banks, and now they actually have acquired a stake in it as well. And it's quite interesting to see that. I think also in Europe we saw earlier that a fintech company acquired a bank to basically just get the licensing process in order and to be able to further extend their services. So quite an interesting play, I would say. Then let's see, what do we miss? Of course, the IPO craze is still going on. So we see that the Remitly actually went public, and I think that's quite an interesting field. We see that while the stock prices are going up, you see, of course, that everyone's going crazy, let's say a lot of companies, and especially the tech companies, are doing very well and did very well across the pandemic. They're all ready to do an IPO, and you see a lot of them actually moving in either through a SPAC, special purpose acquisition company, or directly through an IPO. And I think that's I think we'll probably see, as long if the stock markets hold, because they're a bit shaky right now, but if they hold, we'll probably see still a lot more of IPOs coming, especially in the tech world, which in general is very favorable for fintech companies across the board, because generally if there are IPOs, that means if there are good exits, there's more venture capital available, and that means that also in earlier stages companies can get better access to capital these days. I think one last thing I think to mention is interesting is the fintech adoption rate index assessment that's done by EY on a regular basis. And I see that India has the highest fintech adoption rate. I think there's a bit of discussion about what you could actually, what kind of base points you take when you want to talk about fintech adoption rate. So basically, in several cases, people would be dealing with a new brand, and I think that's what they assess when they talk about the fintech adoption. But in a lot of cases, for example, you could argue that parties are working with a traditional bank, like say, for example, in the US, they would be banking with Maxwell Bank, while actually on the back end, it has completely been turned around and become a fintech. But since the brand was already there, it's not being counted as a fintech. So I think that's one of the, at least one of the discussions that I would have around these numbers. But then again, it is true that especially since the last year's trajectory, when India launched a digital identity platform, I think it's really a good idea. Let's say you see that everyone is actually getting access to digital services at the same time, because they can very easily online identify themselves. And I think that has been really favorable for the adoption of digital services, including fintech. So let's have a look at what else is going on. So, of course, we always look a bit at the funding. So we see quite a lot that's going on a global level. Again, some enormous amounts being invested. The largest amount of over $600 million in capital being raised by 10T Holdings, which is actually quite a broad diversification of investments. We got Verobank doing a very big round. I think quite an interesting one. I think we still see that the neobanks are doing actually very well. Have done also very well through the pandemic. They've had a bit of a dip at the beginning, but I think they continue to grow at the later stage, and also Verobank is doing very nicely there. And I think I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think it pretty much speaks for itself. And of course, if you want to know more, please subscribe to the Global FinTech newsletter, where every week you get the top-rated fintech investments. On European level, generally the amounts are slightly lower. as we see that the biggest amounts are still US or Asia prone. But Divide By did a very nice round in the payments and the buy now, pay later. 350 million is a very nice sum. Scale-Pay, I think, is definitely also one to mention to raise here, and TrueLayer, I think, is also quite a well-known name in the banking platform world. So definitely some nice funding rounds, and good to see that, especially in Europe, the capital also keeps on flowing. Then just two deals in the Netherlands, which I think are worthwhile. So we saw Bots, one of our members, that actually do a very nice deal in creating a platform where users as well as programmers can create bots to invest on behalf of you. And so their 13 million investment is quite a nice round. And Spring also is a very nice one, enabling e-commerce. Doing quite well as well, and I think that's one of the platforms that also we can expect to see much more from in the future. So, of course, besides news, funding, we always talk about research and analysis and opinion. So that's the ones I still would like to briefly touch upon with you. So of the research reports we share, which is generally between 6 and 8 each week, we try to highlight a couple of things that we've noticed. And I think it's interesting to see, for example, here on the left-hand side, you see that the cryptocurrency activity by regions is on the left-hand side, and especially since this is about illegal activity, it's quite interesting to monitor all this, what's going on. And you see that especially in Africa, the amounts that are being used, where crypto is being used for the wrong reasons, actually the highest. Another one that we picked up was actually the mobile banking performance in the UK. I think the UK, let's say, has brought forward quite a lot of big neobanks. It's quite interesting to see, I think, how the banking market is evolving. And so the benchmark here, where they actually look at how traditional banks are performing with their app, is quite an interesting one, because actually one of the bigger drivers for UK citizens to actually work with a neobank was because the existing banking landscape was just really poor. And so you see that the banks are being pushed towards getting a better app out there and actually making their service much more user-friendly. And this is what I think where currently you see that the banks are, when you talk about trying to keep up with the neobanks of Monzo, Starling, Revolut, and so on, that are actually trying to capture the market. Quite an interesting one. So Lloyds Bank, Barclays doing their pretty well, and the rest is falling a bit behind in actually allowing people to use a banking app to basically access all their services. So, and then to wrap it up, we always try to look at some of the things that people say across the field, because generally there's, of course, a lot of knowledge out there, but generally we're also keen on hearing what the experts think, where things might be going, different perspectives of looking at all the developments in the market, and hopefully they also help you to gain new perspective and learn how to deal with everything that's going on. So Theo Lau, I think, had a very interesting perspective of that a bank account is actually quite a hurdle-prone process that makes it really hard to sometimes to access, but you need it anyway. So definitely interesting to look at that perspective. Then again, I think Dharma's Mystery, I think, has an interesting perspective of actually looking at history very much to understand where we're coming from and where we potentially also might be going. And I think I definitely resonate with that, because I think it's quite important that we keep track as well on the human behavior, which tend to happen in patterns that we see coming back over and over again. Been recently, actually, again, I've done quite some talks about, for example, how a lot of financial services actually started out as a community product, community service, right? Coming together to share risks, or make sure that people that need money can get the use of the excess money of someone else in a small community. And I think that's actually one of the big guides for the future, if you want to look at what financial services should look like, or the perspective that could actually help financial service companies go forward, because we really the products are becoming uniform, so that's pretty hard to discriminate yourself based on the product. So the only way you could actually make sure that you stand out from the crowd is actually by creating a community that's worthwhile and people want to belong to. And I think that's actually fitting very nicely as well in this digital time and age, even though it might be hard for financial service companies to realize this and to implement this. But a nice challenge anyway. So to wrap this part up, sign up for the newsletters if you want to stay on top of this kind of information. We'll keep on doing the monthly wrap up, and we'd love to always hear your feedback from that perspective. So thanks for this part. And then I would actually like to move on to the next level. I'm just checking here how everyone's doing, whether there are any questions, but if not, then I think it's definitely time to give Wouter the floor to take it away and give a presentation.
Thank you very much, Don, for this introduction.
Can you share your slides?
I am sharing my slides.
Yes. All right.
And I'm moving to the. So good afternoon. Yes, so good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Don, for this introduction. My name is Wouter Wijtenburg. I'm the commercial director at Mesh ID in Amsterdam. I've worked in fintech for the last 5 years. I have first set up a number of regulated fintech companies in London, and I have now moved to Amsterdam 1.5 years ago. I think it's personally really great to see how fintech is shaping a more transparent and efficient world. And as Don was just saying, financial service providers going forward, they need to do something to stand out. They need to create a community, they need to create engagement, but they also need to make sure that the way they're doing business is done in a safe and secure way. Compliance on onboarding take a very, very big part in that, because fintech businesses are facing a constant challenge to meet compliance standards. Now, basically, being a bit of a rebel myself, I kind of appreciate the irony of ending up with a passion for compliance. I joined Mesh ID as they're building a platform for one of the world's fastest growing industries, private equity. Private equity, sorry, my slide is stuck. So basically our platform helps investment rounds close faster by automating all the steps in the onboarding process investors need to go through to make sure that they're not using their money for illicit activities. So we indirectly help as measure the company growth across the world by investment rounds that are being closed quicker. Now, let me ask you a question. When is the last time that you were stuck in an immigration queue at an airport? To be honest, it hasn't happened to me for quite a while, and I love to skip a queue where I can. But most airport queues, however, are a thing of the past because technology helps queues get pretty much dissolved into nothing. We have automated verification systems that in a glance see who you are and see if you're allowed to enter the country. So queues at airports are not happening anymore. However, queues in business are still there. For many companies and people that want to engage with a financial service provider, like an investment fund, like a crypto platform of Kellogg that's going to speak after me, you often have to wait some time for you to be accepted as a customer. In some cases, it can take months, especially with very heavily regulated investment funds. Now, it takes months because these funds have the obligation to check all the information about you and the company you represent. They ask you things like going to a notary, having your lawyer send in a letter to them. So it takes a really long time. Now, they have a requirement to make sure that the people they're doing business with are not involved in anything illegal. In a very short summary, it's super time-consuming stuff. It can take months. Now, if you have gone through that whole motion of providing all that information to the provider, basically the information is locked up and you can never use it again. So the next time you want to open a bank account or join an investment fund, you have to go through the whole process again, as well as the provider that you're working with. Now, at Mesh ID, we thought we can do something to change that. So what we have done, well, before you think this is just another compliance tool, we're not. Basically, there's a lot of compliance tools out there. They help you to verify an identity, to check an address, to do a compliance screening to make sure that you're not on a sanctions list. What is unique about us is we have aggregated all these services into one digital workflow, where in minutes, in a very user-friendly way, you can give the information to us in a digital and secure way. Now, what is unique about Mesh ID is we take all the information that you've provided and we put it in what we call a KYC passport. So it's basically a digital safe that stores all your personal information, like your passport, your Chamber of Commerce records, all the information that makes you and your company who you say you are. With this passport, you can onboard with a new financial service provider with just one click. So no more months of waiting. Basically, we help businesses work faster. Investment funds that work with us, we have 2 of the 5 world's largest funds sign up in recent months. They work 10 times faster using Mesh ID. Corporate service providers can establish new entities around the world 60% faster using the information we collect for them. This has meant that our company is growing extremely fast. As I said, in the last few months, we have signed up 2 of the 5 largest asset managers in the world. This means that we are getting ready, this is pretty exciting, for our A round next year. Our blue chip clients are powering the world's financial system, helping make money move faster to places where it's needed most. We help family businesses grow around the world, provide money, capital for green energy startups, and we create and grow companies that are shaping our future today. If you're interested in the Mesh ID platform and you're sitting there now, you're either one of 2 people. 1, you're a keen investor, want to hop on board our Series A rocket ship, or 2, you're probably frustrated onboarding your clients and you work for a financial services company. In both cases, I ask you to take your phone, scan the QR code on the screen and get in touch. I'd love to hear from you. My name is Wouter. I work for Mesh ID. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Great, Wouter. Well done. Well done. Very nice. Don't go away. Don't go away. We still need you here. Because hopefully there's some questions around for you. I saw a general question that I hope I was able to answer already in the chat, but I would definitely like to invite everyone to give us any questions that you have for Wouter at the moment. And to get you started, Wouter, I think I think you basically make it very easy for people to bring their ID stored everywhere that they want to go. How's the acceptance of that going, right? So I think that the data standard for that might be one of the obstacles to actually get it accepted. How do you deal with that at the moment?
The acceptance of our clients, the utility that we have is astronomical. Initially, how we work with large funds and financial institutions is we usually start out with a small pilot that once successful, it is rolled out across companies. So the large funds that we have onboarded originally have first started with a controlled pilot where we normally do a few hundred of their customers. And once we have proven our utility that matches with their internal procedures and compliance standards, we are then expanded across their group usage. We also engage with our lawyers in Amsterdam of Stibbe, who have given us legal guidance that our solution indeed meets with all the WFT and the AVG standards that are applicable here in the Netherlands.
Okay, and it's just because I can imagine that it's not, let's say, even though you're technically, it's all okay, it might still take a while for people to understand and accept it, right? So
yeah, I think in particularly if you look at retail banking, online identification has been a thing for years already. What you see in traditional B2B services, this has seen a much slower adoption because people are basically billing hours, and the inefficiencies also make money for these organizations. So accepting new technologies and embracing new technologies is a slow process. Innovation usually goes much faster than its adoption, but we're getting a lot of votes of confidence from our clients, and we actually now actively see them recommending us to their counterparts. So it's a very special journey to be part of.
Yeah, and so do you expect and also some network effects in the sense that, once you see a bit more traction coming and well, indeed, of course, from a recommendation perspective, that might work. But of course, also the customers that you have ID'd before would also help you to speed up the process, right?
Yeah, so effectively, like any other, I guess the example of a social network is once you build your Facebook profile, you can then log in anywhere. Your LinkedIn profile, you can log in anywhere. I guess the idea is that Mesh ID is doing the same function, but then for the financial services world. So I guess the more people on a network, the more providers will embrace us and vice versa. So I guess it's really a one-click onboarding reality that we're trying to bring to the world.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I think that's clear. I see that Linda also has a question. Is it available to global clients or only in Europe?
So our service is available globally. We at the moment support over 200 nationalities and over 100 jurisdictions around the world. But we're more than happy to answer any detailed jurisdictions that Linda wants to talk about after this call. You know where to find me.
Great. I think thanks for that, Wouter. I have one last question, perhaps. Is you said that you're in a Series A perspective. Yeah. What are you going to use the funds for? So what's your ambition going forward when you raise the money?
It's both horizontal and vertical development. So it's expanding the team. We have a very solid team, both in the operational, commercial, and dev side, as well as the product. We have a very, very exciting roadmap ahead. A lot of cool features that I think are even going to propel the network effects much further than they are currently going. So it's just more fuel for the rocket.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Well, sounds good. You. Thanks a lot, Wouter, for this. I hope you found it useful and make some good contacts. Everyone, please reach out to Wouter if you want to learn more. And thank you very much. Looking forward to see you again soon. And of course, of the 3 pitches today, we're going to pick the one that did best in your view. So if you go on the right-hand side of the screen to the polls section, there you can actually find a rating for Mesh ID that you can give. As well as for the other pitches that will follow. So hopefully you'll be able to help us pick the best one today. Thanks for now, Wouter, and perhaps we'll see you later once the audience have selected you.
We'll see.
Bye. Yes. There's also another poll question about how you came about finding us here. So please also answer that. It would always help us to make sure we reach the right audience. Thanks for sharing that information. Then we're about to go for a little fun. So I hope you're looking forward to that. Let me see. How to get that started. Yes. Work my way through my tabs to find everything, but we're going to get there. I'm going to turn off the music as I've had the feedback that last time it wasn't so easy to hear the questions. So hopefully you can work with this. Yes, so what you have to do, you go to kahoot.it. Ideally, not in this tab or not even on the device that you're watching us on, but actually ideally on your phone, for example. And you type in the game pin 1239224, and actually then you can pick your name and join the game. Keep it decent, please. You're of course free to do some advertisement if you want to, for example, promote your company Mesh ID. Nicely done. Feel free to do that, and we're very much looking forward to play with you on all this. It's going to be just a bit of fun, just to test your knowledge. If you've listened well to the previous presentation, you actually might find most of the answers are actually not that hard. But curious to hear from all of you. Oh, Mesh ID brought their football team. I see everyone's there. Great to see you all. Let's just wait a little bit for everyone to be able to create their name and play along. We got Japan on board. That's also very nice. Always good to have a global audience. You'll see that probably also the questions are just like with the monthly overview, are pretty much on a global level. Just a few minutes. And then we'll all go out there. And of course, maybe I completely forgot to tell you, but actually the winner of the pub quiz does get a very nice present of us sent in through the mail. So it's definitely worthwhile to give it a go and try to give it your best shot and try to make it to the top of the list here. I think I'm going to go into the meeting. Last chance to sign up. Please give it a go. Just for a bit of fun and a laugh, I'm going to get it started. You can still join. So I'll be reading out the questions, and you have to look at the corresponding color of the 4 potential answers that you have. So please just pick the right color on your phone. Which company did Singapore put on the investor alert list? Was that TransferGo, Binance, PayPal, or banks? Which company did Singapore put on the investor alert list? Please check it out. And you'll notice as well that the faster you answer, the more points you get. So that's definitely an interesting one to look at. Yes, I'm very happy that you've been paying so well attention. Most of you got it right that indeed Binance is on the investor alert list in Singapore. So great that you got this answer right. For the ones who didn't, there's definitely sufficient chances to get this going. We'll go to the next question. No, of course, but first we're going to check who was mostly the fastest. In this case, is Rudolf. Well, nicely done. Let's see what else is up. Which country has the highest fintech adoption rate? I think this you'll find also an easy one. It's either India, USA, China, or Germany. Which country has the highest fintech adoption rate? So either when the time runs out or everyone has been able to give an answer, the counter will stop. And you'll see that the one who answers the fastest has the most points. And in this case, not everyone had it right. There was some doubts, but indeed it's in India, as I mentioned earlier in the monthly overview. Of course, the other countries also definitely have a very high fintech penetration, and you could argue that there's more money going into fintech than in India. But actually, more according to EY, more Indian people are using fintech solutions. What did it do to the ranking? Aardvark did a very nice job here, and they're on top of the list right now with quite some movers and shakers. So let's see what's going on with the next questions. Still a couple to go. PayPal agreed to pay 2.7 billion to buy a company that does what kind of services? Online banking, mobile payments, buy now, pay later, or cross-border payments. What company did PayPal acquire for what kind of services? Yes, most of you got that right. It's indeed buy now, pay later. Very popular service these days that PayPal didn't have on their roll just yet. And they're trying to come up with a good play now where also parties like Klarna are very famous for. And you see actually most of the payment firms going into partnerships for something like this. What did it do to the ranking? Well, Aardvark is still on top of his game. Come on, everyone. Give it a try to beat him. By how much did the shares of money transfer fintech Remitly rise in IPO? So how much value did they increase in after the IPO of Remitly? Was it 25%, 11%, 5%, or 13%? This is one for the connoisseurs. Well, quite good that most of you got that right. It was 13% indeed that the IPO raised. Any changes? Oh yes, we got Mesh ID on top of the game. Very well done. Still a lot to go. Which country announced the intention to ban cryptocurrencies? Was that China, Iran, USA, or India? I think you'll probably find this an easy one. See what you're coming up with. Yes, of course. I think this is a nice one. China is the one that's cracking down on cryptocurrencies altogether. Besides this, and actually announced that in the past month. Not much change here, so we'll have to do it with the other 5 questions that are still coming up. What did the Swiss Markets Watchdog approve? Was that the first crypto transaction, first crypto asset fund, crypto payments, or crypto investments? What did Swiss Market Watchdog approve? It's of course very interesting always as you see that Switzerland is practically part of the EU, but at the same time has the ability to sometimes deviate from European regulations. And from a financial perspective, they definitely have benefited from that until now. And also you see now that with the crypto asset funds, I think they're now also taking an interesting lead with regard to crypto assets, as they did before, for example, with their Crypto Valley in Zug. Any big changes here? Oh, Aardvark is coming back into the game. It's going to be that's going to be quite tense. There's a very high group of very high scores, I think, in the whole top group. So curious to see how that'll play out in the coming questions. Which region has the highest cryptocurrency activity? And I think I should add here the illicit cryptocurrency activity. Is that North America, Central Asia, Western Europe, or Africa? So which region has the highest illicit cryptocurrency activity? Sorry, there's a typo. But I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, although it was quite a challenge apparently. But as we talked about in the monthly overview, it's in Africa where most of the illicit crypto transactions are taking place. A bit of a trick question, perhaps. Let's see what happens there. It didn't shake up Aardvark by the looks of this, but Wouter is gaining some ground. So let's see what's happening in the top rankings in the rest. Which Indian payment giant did Prosus acquire? It's a 4.7 billion deal, and it's going to be merged with the PayU FinTech Group. Is that CC Avenue, BillDesk, HDFC, or Cashfree? Which company was acquired by Prosus? CC Avenue, BillDesk, HDFC, or Cashfree? BillDesk it was, and CC Avenue apparently sounded very familiar or to you because most of you chose that option. So quite a challenge, but 4 of you got it right. So that might actually make a change there in the rankings. Not really. It's the ones on top doing pretty nicely, but we've got the Ukrainian and Mesh ID again moving up. 2 more questions to go. How much investment did Dutch automatic trading app Bots raised in the last round? 1.7 million, 103 million, 7 million, or 13 million euros. How much money did Bots, or actually the company is called Revenue, how much did they raise for their app for automated trading? It was in the monthly overview. It was 13 million indeed. Very nice of you to pay so well attention. Doesn't shake up the ranking so far, so it's curious to see if the last question might actually make a change. How many companies will be on the revised Dutch fintech map? You probably know that we create this landscape on a regular basis where we actually show how many companies are being seen. Is it 4,000 companies plus, 800 companies plus, 1,300 companies plus, or 100 companies plus? Which I think basically would say all the other, if all the other questions, all the other answers would be okay if it would be a 100 plus, but of course we mean slightly above. And the right answer was 1,310 actually, to be precise. So it's quite a large chunk. And actually most of you were thinking about around 800, which was actually closer to the last edition that we did. So it's going to be quite a diverse and quite a large map. So I'm looking forward to be able to show it to you actually quite soon, as we're going to release it probably in a couple of weeks. But now, what happened actually with this score? Let's see what the podium brings. Place 3, George. Well done, George. Congratulations. Place 3. Your colleague of Mesh ID is doing place number 2. And is it still Aardvark at number 1? Yes, it is. Aardvark actually nailed it. He did a very good job, I think, by kicking up a score very highly and actually not screwing it up again later in the game. So very nicely done. Please, Aardvark, we can't send something to Aardvark just like this. So if you would be willing to share in an email to events@hollandfintech.com your real name and a print screen of your winner's screen as you see it right now, then we're able to identify you and make sure that you get a nice present for winning this competition. I hope you appreciate that. I hope you liked the show a bit. It's going to be, it's always nice to be having a bit of fun with the knowledge and just playing around with it. In the end, learning should be fun, right? Congratulations, Aardvark. And let's get going to the next 2 pitches that we have. Kellogg, can I ask you to join in? Yes, great to see you, Kellogg. Are you able to share your screen? Yes, here we go. Thanks, Kellic. Well, we're very much looking forward to hear from a Nash Exchange. So I would say, take it away. I can't hear you just yet, so just checking if you're not on mute. No sound yet. I'm not sure if you selected your earphones perhaps as a microphone. It's good to check. Just a minute, everyone, for Kellic to get everything in order. Oh, that sounds like all your base are belong to us. I think we can hear you now, Kellic.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Great. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So that's the
Good
problem with having multiple connections. Thanks.
Yes.
So thank you, everyone. My name is Kellogg Fairbank, and I'm the CEO at Nash. I've been in the fintech industry for more than 10 years, working for companies such as Global Collect, Braintree, and PayPal. I am based in Amsterdam, and as I said, CEO of Nash. We are a regulated fintech platform where banking meets crypto. So we offer cash accounts, DeFi-powered earnings, and crypto trading all in one app. And so what we're looking to do is we're looking to bridge the gap between traditional and decentralized finance, which you've probably heard about, which is DeFi. So newcomers can access real crypto services in an app that feels just like a digital banking platform that they all know. And then experts can enjoy market-leading rates, next-gen wallet security, and the convenience of one app for all their crypto needs. So what we do is we make crypto safe, easy, and accessible. So as I mentioned, we are, if you look at fintech, it's focused on disrupting the front end of the financial system. And DeFi, which is decentralized finance, is focused on disrupting the back end of the financial system. We are really covering both sides. If we look at the crypto space today, there is phenomenal growth, right? So if I look at DeFi alone, in May 2019, we had about 500 million in total value locked. As of today, it's over 150 billion. So it's growing at a phenomenal rate. And there are numerous advantages to blockchain itself, right? So it's faster settlement with lower fees. It's reduced counterparty risk. There's financial inclusion, and I think many of us know all the advantages of crypto and DeFi as well. But we are only at about 4% of the world's population has touched crypto, so there's a massive opportunity in the space. And if you look at crypto from top down, there are two major opportunities that attract retail users to crypto. The first one is high returns, which is an alternative to stocks. And the second is high earning possibility on capital, so an alternative to banks. And what Nash aims to do is make it as easy as possible for users to take advantage of both of these opportunities. If we look at the market today, there are, the main problem that Nash addresses is that there are no user-friendly gateways to crypto. So you have two categories that existing solutions fall into. You have the dummy and the expert. So the dummy is accessible, but with many trade-offs. So they're very expensive. So Coinbase can charge very high fees when you buy crypto. They're oversimplified functionality. So they are walled gardens. They don't have access to DeFi. And you don't have access to markets for smaller tokens. They're also custodial, right? And custodial has its own risks. Then you have the expert solutions, and these are a UX that is just way too technical for the average user. And so it's typically when you're dealing with expert solutions, you'll have multiple solutions, right? So if I wanted to, I'll go through that in just a little bit. It's a complex UX. It's, you need to pay network fees and that type of thing. So it's very complex, and it's just too complicated for the average user. So speaking of complex, if a user wanted to earn 8% APY, which is interest rates on a stable coin, this is the process that they would currently have to do. And it's, includes paying very high ETH fees, which are network gas fees, which Nash doesn't involve, right? So if they want to do it properly, you would have to go through all of these steps and use multiple platforms. And it's just something that just doesn't work for the average user, and it's just way too complicated. So what Nash has done is we're looking to simplify that entire process for the average user to be able to take advantage of crypto and DeFi itself, right? So what we have earnings on Nash, which is, it's between depositing euros and earning interest on your savings. It takes about 3 minutes in just one app. So I can go from euros into a DeFi high yield earnings account with just a few taps. And this is, obviously we are live in the Netherlands today, and we will be offering Ideal in the next few weeks. But today we offer open banking and SEPA transactions. And as you can see, it's just a few taps to get into earnings. Nash is what I would consider the equivalent of a Coinbase, Revolut, and PayPal combined with the most popular dApps, which are decentralized apps from the crypto DeFi ecosystem. So we offer everything crypto investors want, everything from investing in crypto to earning from crypto. And we also offer digital banks. So, or not digital banks, but we also offer, cash accounts, which is, digital banking features, right? So, many banks in the UK, if you look at the UK today, block transactions to and from crypto exchanges. With our platform, you actually get a Euro or a GBP account, and you can move in and out of crypto very easily. And we will also be offering debit cards attached to that bank account very soon. So it's an exciting time, and we're very excited to be here in the Netherlands, and we will be launching officially in the next month or so here. So please feel free to download the app from the App Store or Google Play Store to learn more. Thank you.
Great, thanks a lot, Kellek. I think a great presentation, and very nice that you're launching your product right now, and basically getting the Dutch market on board here. For everyone who's listening in, please type your questions in the chat. More than happy to ask them to Kellek. One question I had was maybe a bit more on the fun side. You had this very interesting front-end, back-end image.
Yeah, correct. It's not a photo of me.
Can you explain the symbolics behind that?
Yeah, sure. So you there's always with that photo, there's always the party in the front, and or it's serious business in the front, and then party in the back, right? Okay. And it's the mullet, and that's why there was this meme that was going around, and that was that meme, which is the DeFi and fintech itself. Yeah.
Nice. Wouter resonates with the haircut. To me, it looked a bit like a German football player from 1988.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the crypto space is all about memes, right? And memes are what tell the story. And so I saw this one, and I thought this is a perfect thing for the presentation, because I already talked about DeFi being the back end and fintech being the front end, right? Yeah, so disrupting.
I think. Definitely an interesting one, and also the memes actually are maybe also to answer Wouter's question. What crypto should we all be investing in? I think that's what a lot of people are looking for from an asset side perspective, and their memes seem to be guiding the way as well, as Dogecoin is still doing quite a good job on the valuation side. but I think that's pretty hard to assess. But maybe what would be interesting is actually to how do one question maybe to extend on Wouter's question is how can the users or the investors get a good grip on what they're actually investing in, right? Because generally you talk about higher interest margins. Generally, that means there's also a higher risk. How do you assess that from a platform perspective, or how do you expect people to do that?
Sure. So I think if I look at the platform itself, what we do is we offer many of the major blockchains, right? So we offer Ethereum, Bitcoin, Neo, Avalanche, just the mainstays, right? And these are the blockchains where other coins are built upon. So you can purchase those there. We also allow for you to trade any number of coins. So the Shiba coins, or the all the dog memed coins that are very popular today, that have no intrinsic value but are increasing in value because they're so popular. I think it's people just have to do their own research when it comes to investing, right? And just like the traditional stock markets, you have to know what you're investing in, and just don't follow the hype or the just a simple meme that has come across. I mean, to give you a perfect example, is my stepfather invested in crypto, and I helped him initially just buy Bitcoin, but I recently spoke to him about 9 months later after initially investing, and I said, do you still have your crypto? He's like, yes, but I diversified. I went from Bitcoin only to Ethereum. So he has Bitcoin and Ethereum, and Dogecoin, which is like this dog meme coin, which I found very interesting. And so Doge has grown in popularity. But I think it's just doing your own research and making a sound investment. Yeah.
But I think you're actually also really looking to be in a serious play, right? Because I think you're attaching it to banking services. So you want to be let's say where let's say, of course, the crypto world is also surrounded by sort of scammy advertisements and promises of going to the moon with valuations, which can put people on the wrong foot, I would say, if you talk about taking sound financial decisions. So I think I'm always happy with initiatives like yours, where you actually try to bring it in a more regulated space, where you actually try to look after people from a decent perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's protections for the consumer, right? And regulation is coming to crypto, and I'm very happy about that, because that protects all of us, right? And the rug pulls and the scams, become less and less every day, right? Because of regulation. So I think it's only a positive thing for crypto and the space in general.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. What kind of regulations are you currently dealing with to be able to offer these products?
So we are regulated out of Liechtenstein, and we have also so we've been approved by the DNB, the Nederlandse Bank here in the Netherlands. We're working with the FCA in the UK. So in each specific jurisdiction, we also get approvals, and we're also getting EMI licenses across Europe and then the UK. So we're really going the full regulated route, and we've been working with regulators from day one, right? So we want to really be a leader in this space.
Okay, great. I think that's really nice to do that. I think 2 questions by Malicio, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Will your banking card be a credit card or a debit card in one? Is one question, and the second one is, what will your IBAN account letters be for European users?
So that's I guess a good question. And the card that Nash offers will be a debit card, and that will be to start with. So it'll be a debit card, and it will be how do you call it? No, so it won't be a physical card, but it'll be for Apple Pay and
virtual card. Yeah,
a virtual card. Yeah, correct. Thanks. I couldn't think of the word. So that will be to start with when we first go to market. And with regards to the letters on the IBAN, I don't know what those will be, but I assume so we work with a banking partner, and it's what they provide to us. So I don't know what those will be.
Yeah, so I think you probably work now with third-party providers, so you basically get their IBANs, right? And
yeah,
but
correct.
if you get your own EMI license, you'll be able to issue your own, I would guess.
Yeah, correct.
And that's I think then probably when you could actually also pick. I'm not sure how much room there is, but to pick a certain sequence of letters.
That is correct.
Yeah. All right. I hope that answers your questions, Malicio. Thank you very much, Kellic, for your explanation and your pitch. For everyone, please go to the poll section to rate Kellic's pitch and see how he did. Oh yeah, I see. Thanks, by the way, Malicio, for copying your questions in the chat from the Q&A section. I just see now that you actually posted them there already. So thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Kellic. And maybe we'll see you at the end if the voting allows.
All right, great. Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, great. All right, let's move on to the next section. Please also keep an eye out for the other question in the poll section. We would always love to hear that from you as well. And then I would like to call Nick back on stage. Nick, can you come up? Yes, there you are.
Hi guys.
Good to see you.
All right.
Yes, sharing works. We can hear you. Take it away.
All right. Thank you. I'm Nick. I'm one of the co-founders of Blackthorne. We are currently based in the UK. We set up a recent branch in Netherlands. So recently just got an office in Herrengrop, and I'm hoping to finally migrate into my new house once I get it all settled. But I feel a little bit nervous because everyone's gone into like Gen 2 and Gen 3 level of banking, and I'm still old school, but let me go through it. So Blackthorne is basically a one-stop ecosystem. We built Blackthorne as basically to provide SMEs mini scale of treasury functions that they will not be getting if they are not a 100 million plus turnover company. So let me try to move to the next page. Yeah. So effectively what we do is we basically fill in the gap to provide cross-border transactions. We don't just do remittance externally, we do internal acquiring as well. And that's what makes us a bit unique in the entire space. So, you know, like places like TransferWise, they send money out. We do both sides of the channel. This is basically the reason why we have that expected market opportunity, because as people are getting more international and you're doing more transactions remotely, we expect a larger portion of the business to be generated in that space, especially in the SME space. Right. Now, as I said, we are still traditional old school banking. My background is ex-JPM, ex-Bear Stearns. I've been working in the financial services sector for more than 15 years. We have members of our team who are ex-heads of, like we've got the head of compliance for, who was running the CHAPS payment scheme in the UK. We've got our correspondent account director who has been running 16 years as Credit Suisse's correspondent specialist. So we kind of do old school banking, but we do it better. As such, we have focused on getting our licenses. We are licensed in the UK as an EMI by the FCA. We have an EMI license in Lithuania for Europe post-Brexit. We have an MSO license in Hong Kong. And we have just recently got approved for an MSP license in the US. We're just waiting for the number before I can put that shield up. This allows us to cover most of the scope of the world and also to be able to issue accounts and also market to providers officially globally as well. While there are no restrictions for us to prevent us from obtaining accounts and providing accounts to clients no matter where they're incorporated, this allows us to directly market out to clients and also to provide, as Malicio says, IBANs and accounts in actually different jurisdictions and different numbers. Now, the reason why we focus in this space is we focus at SMEs being involved in an environment where they're ignored by smaller companies. So you do have some challenger neobanks that are in the space that have targeted companies that are of smaller size. These companies effectively are ignored by, if their turnover is less than 100 million, they're pretty much ignored. Now, the smaller neobanks, they're great for entrepreneurs, startups, if you're in the gig economy, and that's great. But if you start to have multiple shareholders, if you have a little bit more of a complicated business model, if you need multiple different services, more than just your standard one currency bank account, they are frustrating, burdensome, and very slow. And this is something that running other financial service companies I've attested to, and this is the feedback we've got from our clients, which is why we are going down into that space. Our core offering comes into three parts. We have an FX platform, which basically allows you to do cross-border FX within our platform at a cheaper rate than the current providers out there. We have checked our rates, and they do actually beat most partners, including the likes of Remitly and TransferWise. Our core banking offering is effectively we offer IBANs in 25 currencies. We are able to do IBANs right now in GB, NL, LU, and LT. So UK, Luxembourg, Netherlands, and Lithuania. We are in the process of getting confirmed with German IBANs as well, which will allow us to basically offer local IBANs for different countries and different currencies. And then our last option to make a more holistic ecosystem is our processing unit. Our processing unit allows us to basically offer processing merchant platforms to allow clients to do online processing in Visa, MasterCard, UnionPay, as well as local payment options such as in Indonesia, you've got Doku Wallet, Vietnamese options over there. Again, Paytm in India, for example, is connected to us. We've got Boleto in Brazil and so on and such. And we've got about 110 options in that environment. So as I said, Blackthorne is an ecosystem. So we've got our banking where we get you connected to SWIFT, SEPA, Faster Payments, which is a UK card-to-card send. So if you have your counterparty's card number, you can transfer money from your account directly to their debit card without having their banking details. And local payouts, which we're using the rails of Western Union, which allows us to remit money from one country to another in a matter of minutes, and also do the FX as a transaction. Within our platform, you get 25 currencies. You're allowed to do the current exchange within those 25 currencies and remit them out accordingly. You have your cards, which is a very standard debit card offering. We have it for individuals and corporates. We are now rolling out employee cards with the ability to do levels of hierarchy within the card system. This will allow us to basically make a request to your senior person in the hierarchies when you want to exceed your limit. So for example, you want to go from a £300 monthly expense card limit that you have to 500, you just make a request within the app, and that pushes it down to your senior manager who can approve it or deny the purchase. Our processing unit, as I mentioned, is our credit card processing unit along with our local payment options. And our lending unit is expected to go live in Q1 of 2022. We've done partnerships with 2 cross-border lending. This would allow us to take the processing unit and push it downstream to our clients. Hopefully that will fill in for the gap for a lot of our e-commerce clients who have online websites, and they always have a quick settlement issue that between the time that they process the payment to when they need to buy new stock. Here's just a couple images of what we've got. So we've got our processing transactions to remit money from one place to another. Why we're better, we go through 3 steps on the FX side. Our banking platform is quite simplified. And as I said, you can do remittance in direct bank accounts and different payment channels that we have partnerships with. And then our last offering, because we built our core stack tech, which is very different. I will get to your question in a second there. We have actually been working beta questions for all of our clients. Our onboarding site is secure. Our new website will go live Monday. Unfortunately, it wasn't going to be ready before this presentation, but we do have active live clients. We have more than 200 corporates using us, and we're processing around 160 million in global payments a month at the moment. We went live like 6 months ago. And our last product, as I mentioned, is our banking as a service product. This will allow us basically to offer our entire stack of tech downstream via APIs to allow other fintechs to be powered by all the offerings we currently have. And that's a little competitor analysis. And the reason why we kind of went slow and focused on actually getting approvals was so that we could make our offering a little more comprehensive and choose our book of business. And that's basically how we run running. Thanks. I hope that covers all the questions.
Thanks, Nick. And it's very nice you. Your dog tried to support you along the way.
Yeah, I apologize for that.
No worries.
Home thing.
That's happening when we're all working from home, right? That's how it goes. No, thanks for your presentation. I think it's really interesting because definitely SME business is very underserved, and I think there's a lot to be done there. And you see a lot of different solutions coming in, and you try to really create a platform where they can get quite a broad range of financial services to work with. I think that's really interesting. How do you see, how much work is it now for you to actually look at all these different IBANs, right? So I think you actually have to go country by country to actually be able to, for example, offer local IBAN services. How do you see the rollout of that? And is that one of your assets, you think, that you actually can try to create a good collection of local presence, local flavor payments?
Yes. So the main thing that we are able to do, which differentiates us quite a bit from other partners, is that we dictate our business lines. So we look for either correspondent partnerships or we directly connect to the schemes ourselves. Example, pound and euro schemes, we're directly connected ourselves. US dollars, we've set up a trust company in the US, which allows us access to the US scheme. So if you set up a trust in the US, you're allowed to get access to US scheme. Hong Kong, we got an MSO, which we're working with now, a Hong Kong bank to give us access to that. Depending on how many partners we have and the rails we control, we are able to take on business that typically would be rejected by any typical bank. So there are a lot of banking as a service partners who will either reject crypto businesses or they'll reject clients being onboarded from different countries. And we're in a globalized environment, and especially with a gig economy and people working remotely, it's become, you don't know where people are actually living, and to be restricting a client from having access to basic banking facilities based on where they are is not something that we condone. So for us, we just look at our point as saying we are going to have the rails and control the rails so that we don't get stuck on the legacy banking route. Because our goal is not just to be a front-end pretty-looking platform, it's to actually own the scheme from back-end so that we can run the risk profiles correctly. Like using tech, like advanced tech, like for example, Mesh ID's tech today will be great for us to be able to get enhanced information about the client, right? We use ciphers to get back history of a client. We use SumSub and other partners to be able to verify the client and look at its history. We use Full Stop to allow us to look at the transaction metrics of the history. And not only that, rather than putting a standard cookie cutter setup, so whether you're a crypto business or an e-commerce business or your local mom and shop company or a tech company or something like Holland FinTech, we can customize all the risk and routing and basically choose to accept almost every kind of corporate business in that scheme. And that will allow us to basically not have that mass cookie cutter rejection model that every neobank and as well as every standard goods.
Yeah, no, thanks. Well, I think that's a really nice proposition. I think that also answers to a large extent Chidi's question on how to make the payments globally.
Yeah. So okay. So I think I see a few questions. So do you mind if I go and answer a few of those stuff?
No, so in any case, let's say, so I think Nate mostly has some feedback on ways of improving your website, which I think is also appreciated, but it might be something good to check out.
So just to give you guys a heads up, before I came into the payment space, I acted as a prime of prime to clear prime clearing trades for FX brokers globally. We also did massive FX trades where we had small regional banks clear their trades through us. They all faced, especially the larger corporates, faced the banking issues, which is why we entered into the banking space. Our product currently is live with those counterparties as well as new referrals through them. You can actually sign up directly on the platform, and that's been secure. We just shoved up a quick page on the on Blackthorne's website to get it up and running. We built a whole new scheme with proper designers over the last few weeks, which will be going live on Monday, and all of the issues in terms of the website is there. The client data, the money, and the scheme is actually secure and is currently live. And we are doing, I said, between 150 to 200 million in payments at the moment. Yep. In terms of how we make payments globally, we're connected to SWIFT, we're connected to SEPA, we're connected to Faster Payments in the UK. We also have local payment partners that we're able to remit money globally. We also allow you as a corporate business to sign up with us and request access to local payment partners, which means that you will also be able to receive money using local wallet systems, even though you have one rail with us. So it's not just Visa and credit card, it's one API and you get Visa, MasterCard, UnionPay, Ideal, GiroPay, Bank Boleto, Doku wallets, Dragon Pay in Indonesia. Where are they? Then Philippines, for example. We've got FRX banking, which opens up all Malaysian banks. We've got just like 110 of them. And the idea is you just do one connection with us and all your entire ecosystem is covered. You don't have to find 8 different vendors.
No, cool. And I think that's definitely a really nice service. Maybe one last question before we wrap it up. Jan Maurits in any case is also enthusiastic to connect Mesh ID to your proposition. So that's good to know.
Well, as I said, we're always looking for good payment partners, and that would be very good.
I think let's look at Levgen's question, who's asking especially about how you assess the credit risk for your working capital. Just curious, perhaps maybe it's the last question to briefly answer that one. And by the way, people don't forget to rate Nick's pitch just to be sure to wrap it up so we can announce the winner almost.
Right. So in terms of credit worthiness, this is done directly via APIs from our payment partners. What we do is we share the processing volume that is going through us so they can estimate your actual incoming cash flow on a monthly basis. And they basically give you a working capital play with a payout based on your cash flow every month.
Okay, cool. I hope that's clear, Levgen, for your question. But otherwise, Nick has shared his link, I think, to connect. So then, otherwise, we're also happy to further connect you. So thank you for this, Nick. I think elaborate presentation, a lot of information to digest. But I hope everyone enjoyed this and gave you a good rating for it. So I think it's actually about that time. So we start looking at who the winner is. Let's see if we can move ahead to the right slide for that. Yes, and the winner is Nash Exchange. Wouter, you are the ones getting all the credits. Sorry, Nick. For next time, Wouter, great to see you back here. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well done. Well done. Anyone you would like to thank in particular for this great achievement?
Thank you very much for inviting us to speak today. We look forward to doing it in real life at the first opportunity once you are back in a physical space. And I'll be more than happy to buy you, Don, Nick, and of course, Kellogg a beer when I see you next. On behalf of all of us at Mesh ID, have a wonderful weekend and speak to you all soon.
Yeah, great. Well done, Wouter, and well done, Mesh ID. I think you've got a great support team. I saw in any case already, so it's nice to see you guys all here. And indeed, we're also very much looking forward to actually have the next edition in a physical presence. Actually, maybe it's nice to tell a little bit about that because you see, of course, already some physical events popping up. And we're especially keen on doing that as well. But generally, actually, our members host our events. So if you actually have some room in your office to basically receive, I don't know, let's say 50 people and give them a chair and look at a beamer or a screen, then we're basically done and we can organize the meetup in a physical space. So if you're interested in that, please let us know because we've seen now that actually mostly some of the larger companies we work with are still kind of struggling or trying to figure out exactly how to deal with the COVID restrictions and policies at the moment, which makes it a bit harder to organize something at the moment. Sorry, Wouter?
Nothing for me.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just saw you popping back in, so I thought that's
You hear me?
that's one. So then I think it's time to wrap up the whole thing. Well done. Let's see if we have a final slide to perhaps look ahead at our coming things, but otherwise I would just like to wrap it up verbally. No, here it is indeed. It's a next event that's coming up. And that's an open event where everyone can register to. We organize together with the Loft, which is the Luxembourg House of Finance, and FinTech Belgium. And we actually have set up a series of ESG related topics in FinTech. and we've covered the environmental part in the last session. And we're actually now, the upcoming event on the 28th of October is about the social side of fintech, with some very nice lineup of speakers from both corporate side as well as the corporate side, as well as the startup side. We've got quite a nice perspective, I think, on how the expectations of society are changing, and how they are actually pushing innovation as well throughout financial services. So I would definitely recommend you to join that one. And of course, we've got our next meetup coming up, which will be on the 12th of November. So it's always the second Friday of the month. So put it on our agenda. And we're very much looking forward to see you then. As said, we're very much hoping to actually be able to organize it physically, but we, as we know that we have also an international audience, we're always keen to open the floor and make sure it's live viewable also for people that are not in the neighborhood to come by. So looking forward to see you then, and any feedback is of course very much welcome. So thanks a lot. See you all. Enjoy your weekend and see you all next time. Have a good one.